Okay, so let's take our discussion forwards with tuples methods. Okay, what methods can you apply on tuples? So the first method that we are going to talk about is the count method. Okay, so here I have created a tuple, okay, with languages spoken by students of a class. Okay, there are a variety of languages with few languages being repeated. So what the count method does is it will count the number of times a language appears in this particular tuple. For example, if I do print tuple1 dot count and I want to count the number of tuple1 dot count and I want to count the number of people speaking English. Okay, if I run this, it'll give me 4. That means there are 4 people speaking English. Okay, so all I can do is print English speakers are, and it'll give me English speakers are 4. Okay, similarly if I put Guj here, it'll give me Gujarati, Malaya will give me Malayalam, etc, etc. So this is what the count method does. Straight and simple. It gives you a count of whatever you put in the brackets. So if it's count n, it'll give you how many times n shows up in this entire thing. So if there's English here, it'll show how many times English shows up in this entire tuple. Okay, so now that's that. The another method is index method. Okay, so if there is a particular thing, okay, if there is a if you want to know at what index does a particular language show up in a tuple, okay, you can do the index method. So for example, index of Marathi student. Okay, so in this tuple, what is the index of the Marathi language student? So print tuple1 dot index into brackets mar. There you go. So if I do that, it'll tell me that Marathi is index 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now this is the index of Marathi person. Okay. Now what is the index of English student? Now see, there are more than one English speaking students. So if I do index this, let's just see what is the output, and that will give us clarity on that. So print index of English student. Okay, tuple1.index.eng. Okay, it's gonna give me 0. It's just gonna give me the first value and it will not give me the subsequent indexes where that is there. Why? Because the condition gets satisfied here and it will not check further in this entire tuple for further values. So this is your index method. Now let's move on to the next method. Okay, so the next one is not a method, but it's actually a membership checker. Okay, so membership checker. So for this, you use in and not in. Okay, now how does this work? Okay, now print. Okay, let's check. Check if Malayalam is there in the class. Check if Malayalam student is there in the class. Okay, now how do you check that? So what you have to do is print mal in tuple1. Okay, so if this is there, it's gonna give me true. So check if Malayalam students is there in the class. True, right? Similarly, I want to check if Pali student is there in the class. Pali language student, PAL is there in the class. Okay, so what I'll do is print PAL in tuple 1. PAL should be in single quotes. There you go. Okay. So now, single or double quote, that doesn't matter. So here I put double, here I put single, but the point is it should be in quotes since you're checking for that value in tuple 1. So print PAL in tuple 1. So if it's there, it's going to be true. If it's not there, it's going to be false. Okay. So check if Pali student is there in the class. Now if you want to check if that student, if a Pali student is not there in the class, you use not in. Okay, and again if there is no PAL in this tuple 1, it's going to give true. So this is called as membership checker, or checking the membership of a tuple. Okay, now this gets used directly in iteration. Okay, so again for loop iteration will happen directly. You can use so we've learned if, else, all those things. So for loop iteration, okay, how does that go is for language in tuple 1, print into bracket language. So what this is going to do is, this is basically just going to iterate through all the languages of the tuple and going to print it out row wise. Okay, one language in one row and then you move on to the next row. That's what is done, just like a normal for loop. So iterating in a for loop using a tuple, iterating in a tuple using a for loop is very simple, just like a list or just like any other thing. So that is that. Now other tuple functions. Okay, so let's go to tuple functions. Okay, okay, so I moved everything up. Okay, now the first function that we have to look at is the length function. Okay, so let me just make a tuple 1. Okay, let's use our language tuple only out here. Okay, no, let me make a tuple 1 is equal to 3, 6, 8, 9, 12, 7, 2, 2. Okay, so this is tuple 1. Now the first thing is length. So all I have to do is print len tuple 1. We did this in list, so you can remember this well. That answer is 11. Okay, so let me just write print length so that the output is slightly distinguished. Length is 11. That is the number of elements that are there in this tuple. Okay, now let's type the next one is max min. Okay, so max and min, okay, print max and min. Okay, so now when you do print max and min, all I have to do is print max tuple 1, print min tuple 1. Okay, so I'm printing these two and it's going to give me the max and min values. So as you can see, the max value is 896 and the minimum value is 2. Okay, so we are going to see this, but the next function that we are going to see is convert to tuple function. Now what this does is, it'll take any element and convert it to a tuple if it's possible. So let's take a list 1. Okay. Let me give it some values. Okay, so this is a list 1. Okay, now what I'm going to do is tuple 2 is equal to tuple function and list 1. So if I do it this way, and then if I do print tuple 2, okay, it's gonna give me a syntax error because yeah, I've used 2 commas here. Okay, let me run this again. It's gonna print tuple 2 like this in round brackets. Having said that, list 1 has been now converted into a tuple, okay, which is tuple 2. So I can convert any given thing into a tuple if it's possible using the tuple function. So this is that. Okay, so this is about tuple functions. Okay, so now let's review what we learned in tuples. We learned how to create a tuple, how to unpack a tuple, how to index a tuple, just like a list indexing, then slicing a tuple, then deleting a tuple. Tuple membership using the in and not in operators. Then iterating through a tuple using the for loop. Okay. Then we learned about tuple methods, that is count and index, and we learned about tuple functions, that is length, max, min, and tuple, which converts stuff into tuple. So this was about tuples. Hope you enjoyed it. It's very similar and very easy, and we will use this in the future. The major use of tuples is when we have to uh, uh, create write protected data, basically data which cannot be changed once it's written. That's when you use tuples. So now we'll move on to another data type in our next session called dictionaries. See you in the next session.